24 hours later, and I still can't believe it. Tottenham 3, Arsenal 0. Sorry the video's late, guys, but I've just been in shock. What a North London derby that is. I definitely think that could go down as one of the best of all time. There was so much at stake. The manager's futures and, of course, top four. But I want to talk about the manager's futures because it played a pivotal part in that game. Obviously, you know who the standout manager was in Antonio Conte. But Mikel Arteta is starting to be under a little bit of pressure in the last 24 hours because before that game, they were hammering Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, beating or smashing Manchester United at the Emirates, which, let's be honest, it's not the most difficult thing to do nowadays to beat Manchester United by a couple of goals, and then beating Leeds, which actually they did make a meal of it. And I actually think the last few minutes of that Leeds game, we did actually see the inexperience of that Arsenal side show. And I know they were playing a relegation team, but Leeds can give you a game, and you have to have the right maturity to deal with those types of teams. And it was slightly starting to fade away in that game, but it faded right from the start against Spurs. They had 10 minutes of knocking it about, creating, I think, one or two dangers for Lloris, but it wasn't anything too bad. I think they might have got 2 or 3 corners, but that was it. Rob Holding made a massive mistake. In fact, it was Cedric, not Son over. Don't think it was a handball, not Son over. Massive mistake from Arsenal. Penalty, Harry Kane converts, as he always does. And it was a massive mare since that moment, especially since the Rob Holding incident. But for Mikel Arteta, the pressure has been growing. And, you know, that game was to test the difference between the two managers and also, as I said before, the future. And Mikel Arteta seems to be, if they don't get top four, he could be out the door. And with Antonio Conte, if it was the other way around, he could be out the door, but it wouldn't be a sacking. It would just be he would leave. So that game, in terms of managers and obviously proving the managers and also seeing what their futures would bring, because Champions League, look, it's a defining competition for everyone, isn't it? It just defines careers. But that was massive for Conte, massive for Spurs, massive for the fans who were just giving it all. I was listening on my really bassy Bluetooth headphones. It was unreal. And you just couldn't ask for a better night. You really couldn't. I mean, obviously, if you're an Arsenal fan, you'd be saying different. But it was just great. But yeah, as I say, Arsenal were just dreadful. But Spurs, on the other hand, I thought, look, the second half, we could have sped it up a bit. But if you look back at previous games where we've been 2 or 3-0 up, look at the West Ham game a couple of years ago. We went for it a bit more in the second half, and look what happened. We conceded 3 goals late on. Conte knows our history. Spursy, all that. We played really slow football, but we actually kept the ball beyond the halfway line. We weren't just passing it round deep in our own half. We were actually creating momentum, pushing Arsenal back. But we weren't doing anything with the ball. We were just putting pressure on Arsenal by passing it round at the back. That just shows how much this Arsenal side wilted last night. It was absolutely one-sided. It was so one-sided. It was unreal. Anything that we did, Arsenal were like, ooh, better step back a little bit. And it was panic stations. It was absolute panic stations. And this is the point where you have to think, are Arsenal good enough? With the squad they have, are they good enough to be in the Champions League? My answer is a very hard no. Are Spurs good enough to be in the Champions League? Yes, they are. They've got the manager. Hopefully they'll have the funds. And they have some players that will be good enough. Some will need to move on. And another question you have to ask is who is going to get top 4? Is this race over? Is it Arsenal's race won? Is that point really going to be that pivotal to decide the whole race? I don't think so. They're going to St James's Park, one of the most iconic English grounds, on the last home game of the season when that team was nearly relegated at near Christmas time. But Eddie Howe stepped in and saved their backsides. And look where they are now. I think in the form table, they're up there with Liverpool and Manchester City, 3rd in the Premier League for form. And it's not going to be an easy game at all, especially with Gabriel and Rob Holding now out and Ben White a massive doubt for that game. But I expect Newcastle to at least draw that game. They are good enough to do some damage to Arsenal. Everton going to be a tough game too, depending on what happens to Burnley and Leeds. I think if Burnley and Leeds, hopefully Burnley don't win, but if Leeds win, definitely going to put the pressure on Everton to win their last game against Arsenal. But we shall see. It's going to be a long couple of weeks, guys. In fact, it's less than a week. It's about 10 days. It's going to be massive. The race is far from over, despite that one-sided win from Spurs. But there's still a lot to play for. So, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, leave a like below and comment below. And I'll see you guys at the end of the season. Bye.